Is a little bit of a resume. Angela got her graduate degree from Cal State Long Beach. She was a professor of psychology at Mount St. Mary's College at Cal State University. She's a co-founder of a group called Looking Behind and all other charitable organizations that promote awareness and create advancement and enrichment for children with disabilities. What an amazing cause to help children with disabilities. She's a member of the American Iranian Writers Association. Her first book, Life as a Visitor, that we are selling after the event is finished. We're going to be selling the book. It's $45. That's all donation to Wizo. Then please buy the book. It's an amazing, beautiful book. And Angela will tell us more about where in that book she recounts her experiences in coming to America. And I think that many of us will find a lot of common things with Angela in that trip coming to America. Other than traveling and everything, I cannot say anything to the daughters-in-law. What an amazing family. It's my great pleasure to invite to the podium Angela Nazari.
There are a pair of glasses here, whoever it is. Hello, and I am so happy to be here, and I am so touched and delighted that I see so many family members and friends that I care so much about here supporting Wizo and myself. And I wanted to thank Miriam for organizing this event, and more so all the women of Wizo that have worked on a daily basis to make the lives of so many people better in Israel. Thank you so much. Of course, a special thank you goes out to my dear mother-in-law. Really, she's been a tremendous role model for me. And today I talk about legacy in a way that my book presents it, the story presents it, but the legacy that has been passed down in the Nazarian family is also quite remarkable, because Soraya has told me that she got to know about Wizo through her own mother-in-law. And it is so beautiful that I stand here today looking at my mother-in-law, knowing that I got introduced to this organization through her. So I'm indebted to you. Thank you so much. And it's beautiful to be here with women from all over the world. You know, the title of my book is called Life as a Visitor. And just out of curiosity, I want to know how many people here at the luncheon were born and raised in Los Angeles. Very few. And then, just out of curiosity, how many women here are from Latin America? Oh, quite a bit, quite a bit. How many are from Europe? Europe, wow. Okay, South Africa? Yay, we have South Africa. And Middle East? Yay, well, I can't say that. So as we can see, we're 200 women gathered here from all corners of the world. And how beautiful that we share so many things in common. So I want to first start by talking about being an Iranian Jew. You know, one of the things that we were so proud of as Iranian Jews, that we celebrated Purim. We were the children of Esther, and us Iranian Jewish girls were so proud that there was a Jewish Persian princess in the Bible story as well. Well, having been raised in the US for most of my life, I have to say, if I had to choose between being a Jewish Persian princess or a Jewish American princess, I'll choose the Jewish American princess. But for a very good reason, and a more symbolic reason. When you look at Esther's legacy, our legacy has been its 2,700-year-old legacy of not covering up who we were. When you even look at Esther's story, it starts with Mordecai asking Esther not to divulge that she's Jewish so she could become the queen. And this sort of hiding actually helped the Jewish people in turn, because she was able to save her people at the most anti-Semitic time in Iranian history. So for us, you would think that that legacy, it has been passed down to us. But you know, when I was a child, I distinctly remember that even at that time, I would think, even if you're the queen, or if you have all the resources, and you can't be who you really are, then you're probably very powerless. So as Esther was, she was the queen, in some ways she was very, very powerless. I remember when I was 8 years old, I was always very curious and asked my parents all sorts of questions. I had turned to my father, and my father, God bless his soul, he was a very, very strict and serious man, a man of little words. And I remember going up to him and asking my father why we had no other family member around us with the same last name, Madahi. And he turned back to me and said, well, simple, because it was changed. Our last name was Yakubov, which was a very Jewish name, and at the time, because he wanted to do business in the bazaar, he changed it to a more Persian name, so he wouldn't be identified as much. And here, Madahi, it's very interesting because in the Farsi it means storyteller. So in some ways I feel that I was maybe destined to tell stories. So in my book I talk about my journey from Iran to the US and my family's journey out of there. And I distinctly remember the last day that I was in Iran. I had just turned 11, and the months prior to that there was a lot of violence taking place in the streets of Iran. I was going to a Jewish school at that time, which was right across from the Tehran University. And in my entire 6th grade, up until December, I probably went to that school a total of 10 days, probably, because all the demonstrations would take place right in front of that university. So as things got worse, my father asked my mom, my pregnant sister, and my niece and I to go to the US, to Los Angeles, to visit my 2 older brothers who were staying there. And that 2-week visit has become a 32-year stay. As a matter of fact, I can say that this week marks the 32nd year that we're here. It was this week that we had come. So if I go back 32 years, I remember the day that we left. You know, there are certain things, and I think that all of you will somehow relate to this feeling, because there's certain sensory things that tie you to your childhood. In psychology, there's lots of research that says most of your sensory and neural wirings happen at that early age. So if you close your eyes and you remember your homeland or your own home, childhood home, there's a certain smell. You know, each country has its own smell. Or the summer times, the way the sun hits your face, it's different in every country. The way you look out and the landscape that you see. So I remember the Alborz Mountains and the 4 seasons. And the faces that you would look into, you know. Just imagine for 11 years you look into faces, people with almond eyes and dark features, and in a matter of one day, you come to another land where the landscape is so different, and people's idea of friendliness and space is different, and you're looking at faces that are completely foreign to you. And aside from that, you also have this struggle to want to be accepted as an adolescent, and you're struggling to speak English. You know, I went to a bilingual school and I thought I knew how to speak English. It took me 1 week in 6th grade to know that I spoke no English. So, and you know, this all happened, our coming to the US all happened so rapidly that I think for a lot of Iranian immigrants, we have this feeling of being in exile, although we live here. And that is that we're always relating with a lot of nostalgia to our homeland because it's a place that we can never go back. And I think that's the difference between people who plan an immigration and then people who really leave things in a moment's notice and leave. So I'll go back to my family story. So my father, he was certain that nothing would happen, that, you know, it would be a 2-week visit. After all, he was born at a time that he lived through the Bolshevik invasion. He lived in the northern part of Iran, so the Bolsheviks had come from Russia to his village. He had seen the World War II, 1953 coup, and you know, under the Pahlavi reign, the kingship, the royal, the Shah, yes. It was the first time from the 1950s on that the Jews of Iran were actually mainstreamed in the culture. They were able to practice more publicly, and they were doing business with the larger community. So for him, he thought that things would blow over in a little while. When it didn't, we got a call from him, and my mom had to make the tough decision to see what she was going to do. Having kids in United States now, they decided that she'll go back to liquidate some assets with my father and come and live with us. And things didn't turn out that way. Actually, they were in Iran for close to 5.5 years. And it was, I'm sure, one of the toughest things that my own family, my own parents faced. Because at the time that they were in Iran, my uncle, who had a high position in the Iranian government, was imprisoned as a Zionist spy, CIA spy. And I remember my mom telling me that on a weekly basis she would go visit him. Thank God he is out. He was cleared by all means, and he's now reunited with his family in the US. And they got stuck in the Iran-Iraq war. Then, after 5 years, they actually escaped the borders of Pakistan and Iran, went into Karachi, and they were left high and dry with no money. My mom and dad had given some of their jewelry, some of their money to these smugglers so that when they go across, they would get that. Well, none of that showed up, and we also got a frantic call from them saying that the police is all over the streets in Karachi and they're waiting to throw us back, deport us back into Iran. So it is a story that is remarkable in terms of the fact that there is a great sense of resiliency within our own community. I can say that this is my family's stories, but there are many, many other Iranian families that face similar things. And not only that, I would say that each of you who are here, we're all Jews from the diaspora or people from another part of the world, we all have stories of displacement and disorientation. So I feel that my story is not just a personal story, it's more of a universal story. And not only that, sometimes we don't even have to go from one place to another place to feel disoriented. I think in our lifetime we go through many stages where we feel like we've landed in a different, planet almost. Believe me, I think, I was telling my sister-in-law a few weeks ago that I had a mini midlife crisis when I was 36 or 37. And you almost feel like you have to go through another whole identity transformation. And then I look back and, I was reading a book by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and the most beautiful quote is that people are not born once, but people are reborn each time in different parts of their life. So all of us struggle with this. All of us struggle to build a new identity at different stages of our life as well. So I am trying to think back and see, well, finally, I do want to end with a note of, a lot of people ask me why I wrote the book. And I say that, first and foremost, I think the great intention was to break Esther's legacy. After all, this is the story of a Jewish Iranian girl, and I wanted to give voice to that story, but I also wanted to be seen. And it's a tremendous blessing to be in a country where you can do that. And as Jews, as this year I've been going to different parts of the United States talking about the story, it's amazing how our own Jewish religion is really so multi-ethnic. And when you hear different stories, you feel inspired by that sense of camaraderie that we have with each other, but also the sense that we are so resilient and we still hold on to some very deep and beautiful values in our culture, and we pass it down. To me, I think Hanukkah, it's very appropriate that we have this luncheon during Hanukkah. And without overstepping my boundaries, because we have our lovely Rabbi Sherry Hirsch here, I read something which very much resonated with me. They were saying, what's the difference between lighting candles during Shabbat and lighting candles on Hanukkah? And one difference is that you light Hanukkah candles at the threshold of your house. That means in front of a window. So what happens symbolically is that you're not only lighting your inner dwelling, but you're also giving light outside. This somehow relates to my book, and that is perhaps us Iranian Jews in generations back were not so comfortable showing that we were Jewish, and we didn't do that during Hanukkah. But here we are with the blessing of freedom and with the blessing that we can take pride in our heritage, and we do that. But there's something even more personal to me, and that is everything really emanates from the inside out. And it also emanates to what we do as women, is that the light of Hanukkah means that we radiate what's inside to the outside world. And that's what we do as women in raising our families and contributing to our community. And that's what the women of Wizo do on a daily basis. And I have to say something, I want to end my talk with something that we say in the Iranian language. And it's very interesting because I heard it 3 weeks ago. We're right on Westwood Boulevard, so you know that the Westwood Boulevard is full of Iranians. And I was walking down Westwood Boulevard, and I saw these two older men talking to each other, and one turned to the other and said, "My dear sir, how many springtimes have passed through your life?" Which is a very beautiful and poetic way of saying, how old are you? And this took me back exactly to probably when I was 9 or 10 when I had heard that expression, and I thought it was so beautiful. So I'm using it today saying that I hope that all of you here today, that you are blessed with many, many springtimes where you also get to emanate that beautiful, generous spirit and send it out to the greater world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. It was amazing. By the way, I just want to mention that through Angela's initiative and the Nazarian spirit of generosity, they have created at UCLA, the Center for Israeli Studies. They are not just supporting Wizo, they are the biggest supporters of the State of Israel. And that was Angela's initiative to do that. Thank you, Angela, for all your work for the State of Israel also. Thank you.